And good morning. Happy Friday, Gamer Nation. Welcome to the new episode of Breakfast with Boom. I am your host, Mr. BoomStick XL, and we have an incredible show planned for you today. We got all kinds of breaking news. I mean, my God, January is normally sleepy time, and we just have so much to get into. It's bonkers. We're talking Gears. We're talking Halo. There's apparently a new game coming from Affinity that they've been working on since 2021 in the form of a Monster Hunter type game exclusive for Xbox. 3 Star Wars games coming from Respawn. Holy cow. And we have a special guest who just happens to like Star Wars and Halo. Mr. Bad Bit, what's up, brother?
Boo.
Oh man. After episode 4, I think Halo is canon in the Star Wars universe. So
You know what? That Halo-like ring looked real.
God is good. God is great, and they give us some of the best sci-fi. Hey everybody, what's up? What's going on? It's Friday, I've been told. This weekend, I got a lot planned. But you know what? Before we get into all that, I'm excited to talk about some Halo. But more so, I'm excited to talk about some Gears with my good friend Crispy over here.
Yes, and he's going to lead that conversation because he's only been talking about this for quite some time. And thanks to
Where's
Special
Crispy?
Nick.
I thought he disappeared.
Yeah, well, no, he's still here, brother. He's definitely still
Oh,
here.
he's here. I heard him laugh.
Thanks to Special Nick of Xbox Era, he dropped some megaton information that a Master Chief-esque level Gears as it might be coming, and we've been calling this, as a matter of fact, Crispy's been calling this for quite some time, the Marcus Fenix collection. That actually could be a reality, and it makes you wonder, ladies and gentlemen, whether or not the rumored Unreal Engine 5 project that they are currently working on was in fact converting Gears 1, 2, and 3 using Unreal Engine 5 and dropping this mega collection, which would be pretty awesome as they continue, because we have heard that Gears 6 is many, many years away. So if you have a team the size of the Coalition, and we know that they're hard at work, retooling and getting ready for Gears 6, what do you drop in the interim? I think it would be incredible to reintroduce the series to many gamers that may or may not have, ever played it. I mean, it's certainly a great way. And man, could you imagine what it would look like if it was told in UE5? Crispy Bomb, welcome to the program. I know you can't wait to get to this. How the heck are you?
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm waiting for this mega storm to come hit us in Connecticut. So
yeah, we're getting a nor'easter here, and I can't wait.
yeah, it's gonna be fun. They're saying up to 18 inches. So
Yes.
yeah, that's a lot of snow to shovel. But yeah, love the topics today, and can't wait to get in it. Let's do it.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I threw a poll up. I threw a couple of polls up, as a matter of fact, on my Twitter account at Mr. BoomStick XL. One of which could be who Microsoft potentially buys next. I know it's a silly topic, and I know that, with the Activision stuff already going on, which they can't mess up, it's not going to be a while. But there's some news that we're going to be talking about on Primetime Gaming this Monday evening, and Sega looks to be getting out of the business. I mean, what is going on? Idle Sloth, very famous member of the community on Twitter, dropped a Famitsu Wave article that is making the rounds. And man, could you imagine if Phil Dominus Maximus Aurelius Spencer snaps his finger and Sega becomes a part of the Infinity Gauntlet known as Xbox Game Studios? Well, find out this Monday at 7 p.m. We're going to break that down. We're going to have a lot of fun with that conversation. But let's continue with the introductions. Fuzzy Belvedere, new member to the program. What's going on, brother? You're laughing as usual. That means you're happy. And that means that Xbox is in the news once again.
Oh, yeah. It's like news story after news story, new games being worked on, studios being acquired, and just tidbits of everything all around of, positivity. It's great. But thank you for having me on here, man. I can't wait to get into some of these topics, especially Star Wars. It's like Gamer Christmas, and it isn't even close to E3 yet.
It's you know what, and that's the thing that's really funny. Like normally, we're coming off the holidays. Everyone is trying to recover both financially and emotionally because it's the holidays. It's stressful, right? People spend a lot of money. Some people spend extra money, and we're all trying to recover. And it has been, I did a X-Vlog video, episode 13 yesterday. If you missed out on it, definitely give it a check out. And I talked about it's only 27 days into the month. The 27 days passed, and we're only into the new year by that 27, now 28 days. And the news has just been bonkers. Like we have more news in that 27 days than we've had in a 6-month span in some years. This is bonkers. But let's continue. VJ, are you there, brother? Welcome back to the program. How the heck are you?
Morning, sir. Yeah, I'm good. I'm just in the DMs trying to familiarize myself with today's topic, so I'm a little bit behind. So
that's all right, brother.
Please move along.
we will ease you into it. Don't even sweat it. And my brother, who has been making the biggest moves of 2021 and continues to dominate in 22, BitCloud Gaming. What's up, brother? How the hell are you?
I'm doing just fine. What's up?
We are ready to rock and roll, man. It's gonna be a big episode. I mean, we already have 150 people here. We're only 7 minutes into the show. I want to thank everyone that is tuning in. If you
hit that like button,
yes,
please,
for
Mr. 10K here.
Yes, I appreciate that, brother. Yeah, 10K it was, and I did that on the Iron Lords. And for me, like I've probably told this story half a dozen times. If you could believe it, at some point or another, in their early YouTube career, the Iron Lords, no one was subbing their channel. Like I couldn't freaking believe it. So when I had 3,000 subs, I had reached out to COG, and this is before I actually knew them. Like and now that we're like family, like we're me, King David, everybody there. And I had said, hey, listen, guys, I don't know what I can do to help because my channel is only 3,000 subs, but we got to get you to 1,000. This is preposterous. So I did a Saturday show where I introduced the community to the Iron Lords, and they got the 1K on the show, and it was super, super important to me because this channel was built on helping others, helping community members. Obviously, I don't know how much I could have done at the time, but it worked. And many years later, when I was just about to hit 10K, COG invited me on and says, hey, listen, I think we can get you to hit that live on the air. So I jumped on, and it not only was it a 6.5 hour episode, which was crazy good. It's their most viewed episode. It's over 30,000 views, and it's one of the best episodes. I mean, honestly, I think that if there were Emmys for podcasting, they would win one.
Yeah,
that's how good of a show it was. And with 60 to go, I got the 10K, and really this channel has been growing at a record pace in the last couple of days. So a big thank you to everyone. But let's get right into it, and we're going to start first with the. I want to. You know what, Crispy, because you are our Gears affiliate. Let's get right into it. You have been banging the Gears drum for quite some time of a representation of a Master Chief Collection level title coming to Gears. We've called it hypothetically the Marcus Fenix collection. As big as Halo is and continues to be, and we're going to get into that next because man, the numbers for them, MPDs, it's just crazy. Halo isn't dead, folks. It actually, people like playing the game. But getting back to Gears, Crispy, we have word of our good friend, mutual friend over at Xbox Era. Special Nick dropped a megaton the other day where he has word that there is in fact in development a Master Chief Collection level Gears title coming. What are your thoughts on this? Does the actual franchise deserve it? And more importantly, could in fact this be that so-called quote unquote small Unreal Engine 5 project that they are working on at the Coalition as they continue to obviously produce Gears 6?
Well, I actually been banging this drum since last year. There was that rumor. It
Yep.
actually might have been almost 2020. I think it started coming out. I jumped the gun a little bit. I was kind of like, oh, it'll be at E3. Yeah, so I'm a little wrong on it, but I always thought it was there. UE5 is a big deal to the Coalition. It's a big deal to Epic. And I don't see any better way to learn all the tool sets they can do to make Gear 6 amazing and also help any developer that's using Unreal and Xbox Game Studios to really utilize it properly than to redo, or I would say port over Gears Ultimate Edition. Now, people will make the mistake. You cannot, they remade Ultimate Edition and it into UE4. And this is because it was totally different when it came out. So, the original could not be ported over, but Ultimate Edition could. Gears 2 and Gears 3, because they're in UE3, could be ported over to UE5. Now, the crazy thing is that it's going to take a lot more work for 2 and 3. And I think this is where a lot of the development is going to be. The biggest thing is I believe them releasing it on PC is where they're really looking at it and saying, we can make a lot of money off this. And if you look at Master Chief Collection, there's a prime example. Another thing, and the reason why I think it's really absolutely true, is the little tweet from The Rock the other day, or whatever. He was in an interview or whatever, but, talking about, being in a badass game movie. And I was like, well, what's more badass than Gears? Also, he, Universal has the rights. We haven't heard about it in a few years now. It hasn't been said that it's dead because we've seen that before. And,
I think it's an active development. They're just figuring it out, I think.
So, and then to top it off, you look at the metaverse talk that they've been having, between Microsoft and even Activision that, we saw in that interview and stuff like that. And really they reiterated movies, TV, books, comics. That's the kind of thing they're going for right now as far as metaverse talk. Release the movie, reintroduce Gears to people that have never played it. Give it a really nice shiny coat of paint for the PC audience.
Yes.
And you bring hype for both the movie and that. And then finally, you look at how much they're dropping for this Halo series to be putting on the AFC Championship game. Okay, they're not messing around. I think it comes down to them really wanting to build universes, not just in gaming, but in bringing TV and movie in there too.
Yes.
And it's kind of just this trickle down effect right now that like these things keep coming out one after another, and it's like, we heard it so far back and we were like, oh, they're not doing it. Now it's like with all this, it's like, oh, they just held it back because they're going to probably try to release it with the movie. And, in some way, shape, or form, either before, after, same time, something like that. So I'm expecting at some point we see, the movie and possibly this kind of like as a little extra there for you. And, it gives them that opportunity to really build out UE5 the way they want. They do a lot of coding in it as well. So they really, tweak it to the way they want. And that really ends up helping other developers. And I think this is just the best way to do it.
I absolutely agree. I think you're onto something here. Obviously, Joe, I want to go to you next because PlayStation is doing a bunch of things in regards to gaming and into film. right? We know that they're doing an Uncharted film, right? That's coming. I don't know so much of how that's going to be. I love Tom Holland.
I got faith. Everybody's being,
No. Listen, I hope it's amazing.
Joe's like, no, we're not going to do this.
Yeah, but obviously,
I heard you, Joe.
The Last of Us is coming. That's a big series. That's going to be a big deal. Yep. We heard that there's a Twisted Metal series, which I think is potentially going to be fun as heck because they have a new game coming. And now, obviously, turning it back right to Microsoft, we have this big reveal coming at the AFC Championship game. We're gonna see Master Chief potentially in a big firefight to get everyone hyped for this series. The actor that's playing Master Chief, I love that dude. That guy is great.
He's a great actor.
He's a big man. That's a big old man right there.
The one thing we have to get over is like it's not gonna be, it's not gonna be the voice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's fine.
But we have to. It's gonna be weird. It's gonna be weird, but we have to kind of get over that hump. That said, I like what you said with The Last of Us. I'll stick to The Last of Us because I think that's a really great example of a game that's getting a remake.
Yes.
And everybody upset of why does this game need a remake? And people needing something to be tailored to them is a weird concept to me, right? Like not everything needs to be for everyone. I'm a big proponent of that. So to me, I take a look at what possibly could be some type of Gears, best of collection hitting a remake like level of content. And I kind of take a look at it as the same of The Last of Us. So, The Last of Us remake's being made because there's a Last of Us show being made. And they want to tie those things closely together. Similarly, like we're seeing with, this Last of Us Legacy of Thieves collection coming out a few weeks before the Uncharted movie that, it will exist.
Come on. And, we're not marketing managers, but this is kind of marketing 101.
But yeah, it is. And it is part of that like meta tie-in transmedia thing that a lot of companies are doing. And PlayStation, has that strength because they are a production company almost now, first and foremost. And with Microsoft coming in there with a Gears collection also just makes sense because you help modernize that whole trilogy. You have thousands of people or, hundreds of thousands of people trying this game out for the first time. You want to make sure it looks the best and plays the best while at the same exact time learning from the tools that is UE5. I definitely think that this game has the new engine and that this is them kind of testing it out going, okay, so this is how everything works. This is how we can get this game looking as good as it can get. And kind of building on that blueprint that they set out for themselves. So I don't have a doubt in my mind that this is coming out. It's just a matter of when. And yeah, like have it co-align or coalesce or whatever with whatever movie announcement or movie that's coming out. That's also exciting. Gears is a great franchise with a great story. And I feel like it always gets overlooked. Because like it has great story and I hate when it gets just like aligned with it's a dude bro thing. I'm like, no, there's a lot of heart here.
Joe, even more
the
so
problem
than
is,
that.
though? It runs to that Doom. You remember that movie Doom?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's running into that same territory. Like not every game needs to be a movie. You know what I'm saying?
You know what? You're absolutely correct in saying so. But with that said, one of the things that for years before we had a chance to relish in what Microsoft is currently doing, it really was Halo, Gears, Forza, right? That was the biggest complaint.
Staple.
That was the right. Those were the three pillars. And why I think there might be some truth to this is a couple of reasons. And I definitely want to bring Fuzzy into the conversation here because Fuzzy, look. We have seen Halo receive a revival. Yeah. We have seen Forza become the best racer pretty much ever released. Yeah. And to hear that Microsoft is trying to expand the brand to the 3 billion gamers. There is going to be a tremendous amount of people that have never tried the Gears series, right? That might have skipped on it during the Xbox 360 for whatever reason. Maybe they weren't into gaming. Maybe they were just straight up PlayStation kids. I honestly, I don't have the answer. But if they could take Unreal Engine 5 and reimagine Gears 1, 2, and 3, release it as a collection, and then turn around and again, we have heard, now this is not my opinion. This Rod Ferguson talked about this numerous times on a bunch of interviews, that there was a lot left on the cutting room floor that they couldn't get into the game. Now that we have these PC level consoles and the technology, it could very well be that we get some of that cutting room floor into the Gears, making them, even though they're going to be very similar to what we played and beat, have a breath of fresh air. Does this series deserve it?
I mean, look at the Matrix demo we got with Unreal Engine. The possibilities are definitely there, what they can improve and add towards the game. So, and what you see with Hellblade 2 is another example of how well it is. So really, the possibilities are endless at this point. You know, I mean, it's just a matter of when, you know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I absolutely agree. And I definitely think you're onto something. Fuzzy, before I get your opinion, brother, I gotta catch up on some of the super chats. Kia Walker, good friend, generous friend of the show. He drops a $5 super chat and simply writes, Microsoft X Sega. Yeah, we're gonna get into that on Primetime Gaming, ladies and gentlemen, because Sega looks to be getting out of the business, and
there's somebody willing to pay.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be. Wandering Dutch drops an outstanding and very generous 10-pound super chat and simply says, Dom's tomatoes ray traced. I love it. That's great. That's great.
Oh, God, that's a good one.
It kills me how much has changed, though, in record time with them.
Yeah, no, listen, Gears 2 still it might be the GOAT, bro.
I'm just talking about just the way the narrative, everything, like the whole thing, bro.
Yeah.
It was pretty grim. We were talking about
it was pretty dire for sure.
It was stale. Now we're at this point where it's like we're seeing iconic franchises possibly coming back, especially with Activision sold. So it's like, what more can we be excited for?
No, listen. It really doesn't matter what system you play most or is your favorite. Everyone seems like they're going to be winning. But Fuzzy, let's get your opinion on this. Gears potentially getting a revival seems like it fits the narrative of what Microsoft is looking to do. Like I said, last year was some people might consider it to be an anomaly for Microsoft, but they continued in 2022 with just incredible news and games coming to Game Pass and more information dropping almost on a daily basis. This news, listen, as content creators, we all get it wrong at some point or another, and I saw some kickback with Nick specifically because he's said some things that he has gotten from his connections. And are they all right? No, but that doesn't make him an untrustworthy source. So I'm going to go with this as if this is a reality. Would this not be the icing on the cake, so to speak, for Microsoft if they could turn around and see a revival of sorts come the ways of Gears using the Unreal Engine 5?
It definitely makes sense. I mean, given that the coalition are probably the in-house experts as far as Unreal Engine is concerned,
masters,
they are able to do things that are unexpected as far as that engine, as far as the graphical detail that they brought with Unreal Engine 4. So to give them the time to kind of play around with Unreal Engine 5, remaster and reintroduce the Gear series to a lot of people that may have missed it in the previous generation or the generation prior. This is a great way, one, to shore up a tentpole series or one of the main go-tos as far as for Xbox, but also give it a new shine or a new light to it, as well as just before introducing your next iteration in the series. I would say it's the best way for them to, one, put the time into Coalition as far as their craft and let them have at it type of deal. And two, it's definitely a way to expand on the Xbox everywhere, where it's like Xbox and consoles and PC as a platform are taking things. So it's probably, I would have to think that it is a reality as opposed to just something that he may get wrong or may have gotten wrong in the past. But I definitely think this is what Microsoft needs to do. Just one, given the fan base is asking for this currently, and two, it's something that just needs to be done, so that way you have one of your key franchises in the spotlight, reintroduce a whole new player base to it, and then that way you have that build up towards the sixth chapter in the series. So it's definitely a worthwhile thing for them to take on right now. I think it's worthwhile, at least.
Well, again, if it turns out that Gears 6, the follow up to the incredible game from 2019, is any indication of it being a few years out, then you know what? Why not? Because obviously, there's a lot of talk with remakes and remasters being like a trend. I actually don't think that's a problem, because again, gaming has gotten so big that people are returning that haven't been gaming for years, and maybe they miss out. So when a Gears 5 or a Last of Us 3 comes out, a Gear 6 or a Last of Us 3 or whatever, they're like, I feel lost. And you know what? Those gamers deserve to appreciate and play a game that for many conversations were genre changing. And specifically keeping with Gears, yeah, is it a dude bro shooter? Yeah, sure, on the surface, but that game has so many nooks and crannies, bro, especially when you start talking about the family element and how each one of the people that are a part of the team mean to each other, and their backstories. Listen, I would pay top dollar for Gears of War, Unreal Engine 5 collection of sorts. And thankfully, because of Xbox Game Pass, well, we wouldn't have to pay. We just have to push the download button. But VJ, let's get your opinion before we move on to the Halo news, because there's quite a bit to cover there.
Sure.
In your opinion, both business and gamer wise,
God.
is this series known as Gears of War worthy of an Unreal Engine 5 update?
I mean, it's very rare that I invoke gaming or business at 7 o'clock in the morning, but I'll give it a go. Just to the first point, Boom, regardless of the fact if it's true or not, that's not entirely the point of these discussions. It's always what I like about this show. It's about discussing ideas which should sort of beget or generate further understanding of a situation, and perhaps even lead to greater ideas, right? That's what evolution's about, I suppose, to a degree, right? So I think most of my points are kind of what Crispy Bomb made, right? Whatever the treatment or facelift that Gears may get, as long as it sort of has the best way to put it, sort of accentuates or sort of punctuates the IP for a new generation, it very well may be something worthwhile. I remember, I don't know if it was Gears 1 or 2. I really, it was quite so far back for me, but it was the reason why I bought 2 Xboxes so I could play co-op, on 2 big screens with a friend of mine. But look, I would like to think that the coalition, and I'm referring to sort of an experienced or a top tier Xbox studio, depending on what your opinion is. I think that they would be better served in sort of ushering in a new era of creativity that sort of boggles everyone's imagination in a good way or a wonderful way, and perhaps outsourcing or internalizing to a support or specialized studio. And we've talked about this, haven't we? Like why hasn't Xbox got a remake studio internally, right? Given the number of teams that they've got, and perhaps that's a better approach and a far more intelligent way to sort of deploy the resources and the talent that Xbox has on hand, right? And perhaps in terms of Gears is if it is sort of in need of sort of updating in sort of some fashion for a new generation of gamers and audience. And look, I'm not in touch enough with the IP to know the strategy play or the demand around Gears, but I guess my point is restoring or sort of modernizing games has value to me personally, especially with, you know, the quality of life enhancements, you know, where and if it's appropriate, of course, right? Without sort of ripping the soul out of a game, you know, along with modern visuals, right? I mean, who doesn't really, you know, who doesn't love modern visuals, right? And I say this after playing through the what was it, Mass Effect Legendary Edition when it came out at launch. It was okay, but not anywhere near as good as the first time around I played the originals. And I wouldn't want to sort of, and I don't mean this in a bad way, so don't get me wrong, I wouldn't want to experience that sort of terrible aftertaste with Gears. That's the only thing I would like to, if they are going to do it, for them to keep it in mind, right? And I'm sure they're listening to your show, Boom. And again, and if you want to sort of compare that with something, it does make you appreciate titles such as Bluepoint's remakes, as Shadow of the Colossus and Demon Souls. I haven't played Demon Souls, but you know, just looking at it, you know, it looks fantastic compared to the original. And both are excellent examples of how to respect past titles when sort of reincarnating older generation titles, so, or older gen console titles, without having to invest, because we all know Sony's very conservative, right, as a company, without having to sort of invest sort of inordinate sums of money into a restorative project or a remake project, because or perhaps it might just be a revamp, or perhaps a concoction of the three. I don't know. But yet still offer something captivating to fans of the original, and as Crispy was saying, newcomers to the franchise. And if indeed somehow the Gears franchise, I don't know, magically or incomprehensibly just passed you by when it was first launched, yeah, and the subsequent releases. But anyway, that's my take on it, Boom.
I mean, it's a great take. Everyone had a great take on it, and you know something, we know that they are working on Gear 6. It's not like they're just kind of sitting on their laurels and say, hey, listen, let's just throw out another remake, because I see that in the chat. There are a lot of people like, well, you know, there's so many remakes going on, but that's not a bad thing, especially if a remake is done. I honestly can't wait to see what the Last of Us remake looks like. Are they adding cutting room floor stuff? Because if they are,
they're gonna add golf clubs. They're gonna add golf clubs.
Hopefully they don't add golf clubs, because if they do, you know, basically that's a pun.
They're gonna add golf clubs to ray tracing, and they're gonna probably change the controls to Last of Us 2. That's why I think, and more likely with the faction stuff. What I don't even think it's going to be a factions 2 style factions. I think it's more or less going to be the original, but redone,
just redone in modern controls and stuff. Yeah, listen, it would make sense. And I don't know when this hashtag greatness pass is ever going to come to fruition. But my God, if that was if that was something to launch the service, that you'd get millions of people to subscribe. That would be a good way of getting it.
There was this thing, I don't know if you saw it, BG, shout out to him, but he shared it on Twitter. It was called PlayStation Infinite. Did you see it?
No.
Joe? Yeah. There was this thing called PlayStation Infinite. Now, it might be a rumor, or I think it was a rumor, but the way it was going around, I guess that would be Spartacus, Boom. It's called PlayStation Infinite. And basically what they're saying is everybody who's already a Plus subscriber will be transitioned to the gold tier of it, because there's 3 tiers. There's bronze, gold, and platinum tiers for it. But yeah, I'm not sure anything else. It was just a rumor about it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how
you feel
believable it is, but I do think I think that is probably what it is. Yeah.
I mean, listen, only time is going to tell, and it's going to be very interesting to say the least. I cannot wait to see what they do with Gears 6. I thought Gears 5 is probably one of the best looking in the series. I loved the story. I think that no spoilers here. The end was heartbreaking. And if you're listen, if it's just a dude bro shooter and you can give a flying shit about the family aspect, then okay, it was probably lost on you. But I've been a fan of the series. I've read the books. I got a Lancer sitting above my head. I got a pair of dog tags, cog tags.
You have I think it was Gears 3 Collector's Edition, where it's
like
the metal.
He's right over here. So I mean, I'm all in. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. But we got to get into one of the biggest stories to come out of the investors meeting. And no, we're not talking monies. We're talking Halo Infinite, folks. This is a game. This is a franchise. This is a series. This is an iconic character that in many, many circles on the interwebs considered to be DOA. Certainly dead on arrival. 5 did not leave everyone, including myself, with the greatest feeling for the brand moving forward. So when Infinite was announced, I was excited. But, obviously, that 2020 reveal, it didn't do a lot for a lot of people. For me, it excited me because I'm a big Far Cry fan, which you see on the screen right now. And the open world nature of Halo, the thought of it was exciting to me, maybe not for a lot of people. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, what could we say? Besides winning the Player's Voice Award at the Game Awards, and it, I talked about it in the X vlog I did yesterday. That was it's a new category to the Game Awards for Jeff Keighley. And it's one that isn't easily won because each title was going up against over a dozen games. It wasn't like an automatic, hey, you're in it, you're going to win it. And they won that. They won Game of the Year on several of the outlets, not that particular show. But we also found out that 20 million people have played Halo Infinite and continue to play that game. Yes, it's free to play, but here is where we change the conversation into the MPDs, because Halo Infinite just happened to be number 1 as most paid for game for Xbox. Folks, that's a really big deal when you can get the game technically for free with Xbox Game Pass. So what are we talking about? Well, I'm bringing this into the conversation because there are several people, there are several journalists that are poo-pooing this incredible feat. And I got to ask the question to the panel. I mean, I don't like to be negative, but I have never seen more hatred towards a franchise or the want for a franchise to fail than with Halo. It has been mind-boggling. Joe, I gotta go to you first. You and I got a chance. We were playing it during the beta like crazy. We had an absolute blast. We played when it finally launched on the 15th of November. And you've played the heck out of it. I don't know if you've maxed out your level. I'm halfway there. I'm level 52. I'm level 52. I haven't picked it up in a while because, well, there's a lot of games to play, and I got to get back at it. What are your thoughts on 20 million players, number 1 for Xbox and MPDs, and the fact that, people are still very excited to see what they do next at 343 Industries?
I have 5 days, 16 hours, and 52 minutes on Halo Infinite. So I've liked it a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot of gameplay.
I love Halo Infinite. I think it's a really great game. It's one of my favorites of 2021, right?
yeah 2021. Yeah, it seemed like a blur.
Oh God, it really has. So I really like this. My timeline's been really positive. I've seen a lot of people like, this is Halo, it's back, and that's awesome. I seen also let me rephrase. I've seen some people go, is that the real number though? Is this, how are they counting this number? And it's like, it's got some Dominion vibes that I don't jive with, because it's like, that's just the number, man. Like how they arrived to it is like people hit download and 20 million people got to experience it. Does that mean that there are 20 million people playing it? Absolutely not. But even if it lost 50% of its player base, right, in its first month, it still has 10 million people playing it, and that is no easy feat. Having it on Steam has helped, and hasn't hurt the game whatsoever. It's awesome to see that Halo is back in the conscience of multiplayer, and having Call of Duty and Battlefield, especially, it seems, fall flat on their face, really gave a chance for Halo to really pick up that slack. Now, the only thing to me that they have to fix is their progression and their marketplace, which they seem like they've been doing. And they even say like there's more changes to come, and season 2 has to get here because it was way too easy to get to 100. They kind of overcorrected with their shitty progression system in the beginning. Sorry, crappy progression system in the beginning, to make it so that like you're literally guaranteed like at least 2 or 3 levels every day. So like it took me less than obviously a month to get that to 100. So honestly, my only question for Halo is how they keep the momentum going.
Yes.
Because the one thing that I am seeing from folks is, all right, we need more maps. And more modes.
Yes.
And I think if they could start getting that steady stream of that content in, then Halo's going to have legs, because it's impressive that it's 20 million. Now, how do we keep it? Now, how do we keep that train going?
Yeah. How do we grow it? How do we grow past 20 million? Yes.
Yeah. And shout out to that Halo show. It's going to look dope.
Yeah.
My best friend, who is not a gamer by any means, she literally just texted me one night. Right, I even show her the trailer because I thought she'd be so not interested, and she's like, "Joe, when's that Halo TV show coming out? This thing looks freaking dope." So let me tell you something: Halo's got life in it, whether you want to admit it or not. People on Twitter, it's got legs.
Yeah, it does. It absolutely does, and and it's funny because we're gonna see what a TV show, a well-produced TV show, does for a game. We're going to see that now. We're going to see that with The Last of Us. We potentially could see that with Gears. We could see that with a lot of games. And Halo, I cannot wait to get the buzz. And we'll probably talk about it and see what the people are saying on Monday's Primetime Gaming, because obviously in the AFC Championship this weekend, they're going to drop the biggest trailer yet. And obviously Master Chief is going to be front and center. So, yeah, I think you're onto something, Joe. I think that is going to excite people that are already playing the game, but people that might have been like, hey, it's in my backlog, but holy crap, that TV ad made me want to go and play. And there you go. And now you start to see the numbers potentially explode. But I agree with you. More maps, more modes. And we, information dropped today, specifically right before the show, thanks to Idle Sloth, that Affinity apparently is not only making a Monster Hunter level game that they've been working on since 21, and we're going to get to that story next, but they are working on a huge mode for Halo Infinite, and we know what they bring to the table. They've made some of the best maps ever, and they have a great working relationship. So the fact that they are not only working on a new IP for Microsoft, but they are potentially bringing some new modes there, with their style of gameplay.
What if it's Battle Royale?
You know something?
Oh, no.
That's what people are suggesting on the interwebs. I
can't wait till people get upset. I can't wait. I'm gonna be playing it and having fun. Because honestly, what's the newest mode called? It starts with an A. I think, is it attrition? Or am I just getting that confused with Titanfall? Yeah, I think it is attrition, because like they put some BR elements in that mode with the circle closing after you get to the final round. Yes, and let me tell you something, pretty good. That's probably my favorite mode after Slayer.
I love it. That's great. Real quick, just to show you the reality of what we were talking about, Joe. Big Bad Mo in the chat. He says, my wife hates video games, but she wants to watch the Halo show. See, that's saying something. That is saying something. Yeah. Let's bring in BitCloud in the conversation. BitCloud, obviously these numbers. First and foremost, what I find frustrating, is that the number comes from the investors meeting, which means that if Microsoft lies about the numbers, they're in big trouble because it's considered illegal. So the fact that anyone, whether it be you're a content creator or just straight up knucklehead online, would suggest where are these numbers coming from, I got to be honest with you. I think you're embarrassing yourself when you go out there and say, where are these numbers? How are they counting?
We had this conversation. It feels like every time, even Chris heard me say this on my show. It feels like people put their actual worth as a human into the box. And what I mean by that is they literally look at it. They don't even play the game like a game of chess. They literally play it like, oh, that console or whatever that is my sibling or something. You can't talk about it. That's how they are. But when it comes to this game in particular, I have never seen so much talk about a game that is reportedly dead.
Yes.
Garbage, a game that's not this and third. As someone who's played it, I enjoyed myself. I am waiting for the next season. I am waiting to see what other content they add to it because it's going to be better down the road. But, the thing is this. Why would they lie about something as simple as numbers?
Yes.
I don't get that. Why would they lie? The same thing as why would they lie about Forza? Because Forza also made big numbers as well.
Yeah, 18 million. And that was actually announced, believe it or not, by Satya Nadella. I mean,
yeah. So if they're making all these headlines or they're saying all these things about, gamers and being active, because remember, that's the thing, right? We said this numerous times. It's engagement, if I remember correctly, right? Engagement. Yep. And that's what Sony's also saying at the right bad bit. Engagement. So that's why you see change in what? Basic stuff that we said numerous times was going to change. And a lot of people don't want to understand that or don't want to listen. Basically, that's how business is. Business is no longer about, hey, how many consoles you sold. Granted, that's a nice icing on the cake type of thing, right? Everybody wants to say, hey, we sold the most consoles. But the thing is, that's not where the industry is pretty much pointing to. And this is why you're seeing so much different looks on how they go about things, whether it be engagement numbers instead of sales of the console. And the funny thing about the sales of the console, Sony can't even guarantee you a PS5. Neither can Microsoft. So it's like they're not even bothering talking about that because they can't even ensure that and that's the sad part. I want you guys to understand that if you go to Sony's website and you think you're going to get a PS5, you're put into this ridiculous long waiting list. Boom, tell them, bad, but tell them. You already know
ridiculous.
The waiting list is crazy on that. And the fact is, you think, okay, you're going to get one, right? You're like 30th in line or 20th in line. And then you get that message, sorry, we're all out of consoles.
Yes, more times than not.
That is why the whole thing is just funny to me. Again, it's wild, but at the same time, it's like I'm kind of numb to the situation. This point, I'm kind of like Crispy Bomb on it. It's like I see it every day, on Twitter. Every week is something Halo related. We gotta quote unquote be upset or complain about. They're saying, oh, is this disappointing? It doesn't look that good.
Oh God, you just triggered me, bit.
Yeah, my good friend Solid Rev, and shout out to Solid Rev and his son. Even they said it's one of the best Halo games they've ever played. One of the best looking Halo games I've ever played. I'm like, it does look good. It's a good looking game, but the thing is, dudes don't play these games. They just look at stuff.
No, they're playing freaking Twitter, dude.
Yeah,
that's all these people are doing. They're complaining about fruit physics. They're complaining about reused animations. It's like you're.
You know what kills me? They did that with Horizon. They said reused animation. But I'm like this. You guys are bringing up pixelated images from the internet or somebody's phone, and you're comparing this to in game of something that you're seeing. It's like
losers.
What kind of damn comparison is that? And then you expect people to really care.
Losers are spending their entire time on Twitter to invalidate someone's joy. Pisses me off. It's sad. Some loser, like literally yesterday, and I don't even know their name. I saw them and I muted them immediately. Is like some loser took time out of their day to put up an animation to find an animation from Horizon Zero Dawn, and then find an animation from Horizon Forbidden West, and go, you copied it. I don't have a degree, let alone any experience of how to make or code a goddamn game, but I'm a loser enough energy. I'm putting enough loser energy out there to tell you guys that you don't know how to do your job. I hate that stuff so much. It's the same with the dumb loser that's posting fruit physics because I'll spend $5 million. Shut up. You're dumb. You're an idiot. You have no idea how any of this works. You're only saying things for attention. Twitter isn't a real place. And I've seen some people that literally get their Twitter disabled and they're acting like their life has their life is disintegrated. They're like, they took it away from me. How can I get other losers to validate my dumb opinions? It's so dumb. Enjoy a goddamn game.
I was just gonna say, I think that the fact of just enjoying a game has been lost in the conversation. But great point.
Sorry.
No, I love it. I love it.
So much.
It's a conversational podcast, brother, and I love hearing it.
No, we see it all the time. Like Batman will tell you, it gets to that point where you're just either numb, you're bored, or you're just flat out like aggravated by it. And it's like, what are you accomplishing? That's what my thing is. What are you accomplishing with doing this?
Yeah,
you know,
I don't know.
What do you accomplish? And then they wonder why people don't even pay them no mind or things don't happen for them. And then they go, oh, these guys are paid. And I'm like, okay, well. I see where we're going with this. You know, like it's
pretty ridiculous. But you know what, Crispy, let's get your opinion on this, brother. The numbers speak for themselves. 20 million people played Halo Infinite, regardless of. And you know, it's funny, and I'll bring this up to you. I didn't even bring it up in the conversation. I actually saw people out there tweeting and quote tweeting. Only 8% of people beat this trash campaign, and I'm like.
You need a voice modulator.
Wow, you know, if that person or persons or group actually took the time to go and get those numbers, you should probably play the stock market. You'd be billionaires by now. With the tenacity that comes behind trying to invalidate something like Halo. It's a big win for 343 Industries. It's an even bigger win for Microsoft and Xbox Game Pass. The game is really good. It looks really good. The campaign tells a very emotional story. If you play it from front to back, you really find out what happened to Cortana. You get a chance to really see a much different chief than we're used to seeing. A chief with some emotion. And I mean, obviously, he's not crying in a corner, rocking, but there is some comical parts. What are your thoughts on what people are saying?
That part about the 8%, you do realize that, you know, Halo and Gears are basically huge multiplayer games, and there are plenty of people like myself that won't even beat the campaign right away. They will go straight into the multiplayer. So you got to understand that there's also a lot of people waiting for co-op because they refuse to play the campaign until they can play it with their friend that they probably beat every Halo with. You know what I mean? So these are things that you ignore. 20 million people. Now, hey, if it drops to 10 million tomorrow, that doesn't mean anything because they still have Forge and co-op coming out. They still have the next season coming out. I mean, I see it's usually at 20,000 concurrent players on Steam. That's just Steam people. Like, people look at that and it's like, oh, it's dead, blah, blah, blah. Dude, you do realize you can play this on your phone. You can play this on your laptop. You can play this on your Series X, your OG Xbox One through the cloud. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're just counting everything. They're pooling it all together. They're letting their investors know, hey, this is working. This is our trajectory. You know, if they keep 20 million for the whole year, what are you going to say then? You know what I mean? And to go about yourself and say, okay, well, how are they calculating this? Well, do you know what's funny? You go and you say you have 20 million copies sold of Spider-Man. Does that mean that there's 20 million people playing it right now? No. So the calculation BS, will you just stop? Like, it's stupid. The game is successful. The investors look at the game as successful. That's what matters to Microsoft. And it also matters to the Halo community because they continue to work on the game. They're making things better and they're listening to the gamer, which is nice. So just stop your BS. I don't know why people
just enjoy the game, for crying out loud.
You know, like seriously, like, can you just like enjoy the game? I mean, I understand playing Twitter is something new to me, at least. I mean, I used to be like, wow, like people really like spend all day on Twitter. You ever seen these spaces that are 10 hours? Like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah. Honestly, Twitter Spaces, it's funny because like
one of the worst ideas
I've
only heard about them. I will not.
It's one of the worst ideas in the history of the internet.
Ever. It is so funny because my job is to literally be on Twitter, and I'm not even on Twitter as much as some of these folks. Let me tell you, when I hear Twitter Spaces, they're I was in a meeting like, should we do Twitter Spaces? And I let the most audible sigh out. Like, oh God, no.
It's like, no, we're not doing this.
Yeah, it's something to stay away. But yeah, I mean, fantastic points. And I agree 100%. Everyone has been really just knocking it out of the park. And I want to bring this to Fuzzy. Fuzzy, look, video games are a tough business to be in. Not everything is a guaranteed sale. Certainly, franchises that have been long in the tooth don't guarantee that they're going to sell when they make a new one. Specifically, 343 has been at the brunt of many concerned conversations. And you know what? I said this in my review. I said this publicly. I'll say it again. This game, Halo Infinite, what they were able to do with the controversy surrounding this title and the pressure to deliver this game must have been something that we would never see because we're not game developers. And they did it. They delivered not only in an incredible, masterful single-player campaign that is, yes, missing co-op, and they will deliver that. But the campaign itself was amazing. They delivered in the multiplayer. Very hard to do considering the pressure and the size of the studio. Remember, there were thousands of people working on this, not just a few, 400, 500 developers. This was being worked on by a lot of eyes and hands, and they delivered. Mm-hmm. Can we not just celebrate the fact that they pulled it off and God damn it, it's good? What are your thoughts on the question marks coming out of these incredible numbers? Why are they still happening?
I don't know. I think it's only because it's a Microsoft property to some extent. There are a handful of gamers out there or people that refer to themselves as gamers that seem to have this doubt about anything with a Microsoft association, it seems. As someone that enjoys Forza and them reaching 18 million, I mean, a lot of people want to claim, oh, well, Game Pass is bad for gaming. It's bad for devs. It's bad business, blah, blah, blah. And it just... I think we all kind of forget sometimes what this is all about. It's about enjoying the games themselves. So them reaching 20 million players, now whether those players are playing daily or not, I don't really care. As long as I can, queue for a match and not have to wait minutes on end, I'm fine. If I can just quickly fire up the game, hop in the campaign, hop out when I feel like it, and not feel like, oh, I gotta, somehow post that, well, this game feels empty, or it's just ridiculous about the amount of people that are playing Twitter instead of playing games themselves.
Real talk. I just did the numbers. 50% of people that bought Spider-Man beat it. Spider-Man's one of the best, if not my favorite, superhero game. Mm-hmm. Right? Bloodborne, game of the generation. Only 11% of people beat that game.
Woo! Hard game to beat. Yeah. Hard game to beat. Yeah.
I'm just saying. I'm sorry, Fuzzy. I'm sorry.
No,
I had to break out the trophy list.
but when it comes to a game that's a multiplayer game where it has a multiplayer component, I used to get flack because I don't have that great of a gamer score. But I played The Division, the first one, 2016. That was the only game I played. Yeah. So once I reached 1,000 gamer score on it, it's like I don't have any more other than the DLC content that I'm going to get as far as gamer score. So if I'm playing this game but not getting that much gamer score? Am I not a gamer for playing the game? But it's just wild to me that people just, why do they question it? If it's not a game for you, it's not a game for you.
Dude, I have 40 days in Assassin's Creed. 40 days. So there you go. It doesn't matter. You're playing the game, you're a gamer. That's it.
No, but back to the real case at hand. The numbers are awesome. To have them accomplish that small feat is amazing in itself, and it should be celebrated or applauded. When it comes to the stuff that's in this pipeline for the next couple of years, as far as what they're going to release in seasons and DLC and additional content, I can't wait for it. But I think now as we move on to other games or look at other games just for, giggles or whatever, just enjoy the game. If you find others that enjoy the game, then great. If those that don't enjoy the game, let them voice their opinion and then move on from that. But for me, I just look at it as it's just simply amazing that they reach those numbers with all the eyes and pressure. They rose to the occasion. And same thing with the studio or playground games with Forza. Reaching 18 million players is not easy these days on something that a lot of people want to call quote unquote niche. So it's like it's just amazing that people are still playing games or enjoying games, and for the rest that aren't, find a different hobby.
I agree. And closing out the topic before we move on to the Star Wars aspect of the conversation, which I know Joe cannot wait to get into, because my God, listen, all you gotta say is Respawn and Star Wars, and you got my interest peaked. But VJ,
yes,
the numbers of Halo cannot be denied in any conversation. 20 million of anything is a big deal. And I think what is important to this conversation and what nullifies it's in Game Pass, so it really doesn't matter, it sucks anyway, is the fact that it was not the number one selling game in December for Xbox, and it came out on the 15th. I think, was it the 15th or the 8th? No, it was the 8th. It came out December 8th. So it came out 1 week already into the year, into the month, and here we go. It wins most sales for the MPDs for Xbox. It really does shut down the narrative. But what are your thoughts on the conversation that people would actually question where 20 million numbers come from?
I mean, the panel makes so many good points, and I'll try to sort of latch onto a few of them. I can't answer everything, but from my side. But just for transparency, I did complete the Halo campaign, bar a single annoying side mission. But so I hope it qualifies me to say something. Look, there's a social issue here as well, so I'll try to sort of tackle that as well. Look, I think that most people that use Twitter, right, they use it on a sort of cursory or casual passerby level, and they would have appreciated the tweet and the acknowledgement of the number that let's take Microsoft and Xbox out of the equation, that the Halo Infinite release achieved, right? That's for sure. But then you're going to have those boom and that on closer inspection, a phrase that will come to most people's minds is lies, damn lies, and bloody statistics, right? And that's going to arise in some. You're not going to get away from it. And if you're not sort of entirely familiar with the phrase, it's used to sort of portray a situation beyond its true power and measure to sort of motivate and stimulate a sort of a fairly susceptible audience or excitable audience, which gamers are, right? Let's be honest, right? And somewhere in between lies the truth for some, right? And that's why it's perhaps being questioned. Look, at the end of the day, I have no issue with some raising an eyebrow, rather than blindly celebrating a tweet, because you do have the two sort of vast measures, right? The two extremes, right? And I would say that asking questions is a good thing, and this is to your point, Boom, right? In people having knives out, for the IP or Xbox or whatever. I don't think that's a good way of doing things. If the manner in which you ask
I agree.
questions has to be correct. And we don't teach this. We don't educate kids, right, in this way, right? You see it in playgrounds still to this day. It has to be done in a manner where you're not seeking, right, with a motive or with a desire or with ego, because then you're just never gonna arrive to the truth of the situation or what it is that you're dealing with, right? And no matter, like you said, Boom, no matter how you look at it, 20 million players is a huge engagement number for sure. I wish some of the games I was involved in that sort of number. I might not be sitting there, probably on a beach somewhere, but and especially for a game that had a little bit, well, let's be straight, because we discussed it on this channel a lot. It had more than a troubled development, right? And so that definitely, you've got to sort of raise and tip your hat in appreciation or gratefulness to Joseph, right? And what he managed to achieve. Joseph Staten, right? Mr. Badbit as well. Let's tip our hat to him as well. Why not? Why the hell not? It's the weekend. So and look, for those that are looking for the number to be further qualified, then Xbox might want to put these questions to bed if they feel inclined to do so. But regrettably, and a bit take it under advisement if you wish to do so, I would suggest to those that are waiting for those that you might be in for a very long wait, right? And at the end of the day, I do have a question, right? I'd love to know, and I probably won't get to know, how did how did the release of Halo contribute to a positive increase to Game Pass users, right, or an increase in Game Pass users, if at all, right? And if it didn't give rise to subscription numbers, because it's something that I talk about on the show a lot, it furthers the argument that Game Pass is greater than the sum of its parts. And I remember a very specific show that that Joseph, Mr. Babbitt, was on, that we were discussing this, right? And so it's kind of stuck in my mind, and what it determines also is that it's not entirely dependent on huge titles, which might be a good thing depending on how you see it, right? Since it shows stability, and Game Pass subscription numbers are not susceptible to sort of mimicking one of those cardiogram machines. I hope I've got the machine right. I'm not a doctor or anything. With the green pulsating line ebbing and flowing and whatnot. So I will say, look, I won't talk about this blindly, but you have to say as well that, when you go onto Twitter, you do see a lot of these sort of PR sales spin tweets, not just from Xbox, that are designed to garner some sort of like superficially inflated support, influence approval, or gain a crowning glory for 5 minutes. It doesn't matter what you say, right? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you tweet, right? And regardless of how you want to perceive a specific tweet, right? In this modern age, right, and it's more of a pandemic, right? Which I think we've all had enough of. That anything you tweet causes conflict and division. It's a very concerning and modern theme, right? Not that I can do anything about it. I'm like Mr. Badbit, right? I kind of stay off Twitter as much as possible, unless I'm retweeting or something, and so on and so forth. But again, you're absolutely right. You don't need Game Pass to play Halo Infinite multiplayer. It's free to play across at least 150 to 200 million, regular PC and Xbox gamers and hardcore gamers and their systems and hardware. And look, I will also say this, because I don't want this to kind of be a one-sided opinion. As for NPD reports, it's not difficult to get into the top 10. I think December was a bit of a lay month in terms of big releases. Remaining in the top 10 is very, very difficult. And you only have to look at Forza 5. A few weeks after release, it quickly dropped to 16th place on the same report, right? And I will say, and this is nothing to do with Xbox, just in general, I will say, in general, be wary of those that are masters at being vague. There's lots of people out there like that. But having said that, to Joe's point again, it's engagement and maintaining and growing users over the long term. I think it might have been Crispy that said so. I do apologize if I've got that the wrong way around. And it's not just the unit sales of the game that's important to Xbox. And just a sentiment that I think everybody sort of alluded to, and I'll kind of encapsulate it here. Life is fleeting, so if you can, enjoy gaming.
100%. I mean, I couldn't have said it any better myself. Listen, man, we are knocking it out of the park. I felt like we've been talking for 3 hours, and we're only an hour in, folks, and we have a couple more topics to get in here. But let's thank Danny Passion Official for the outstanding $5 super chat and says Halo and Forza numbers just tell us how successful Game Pass is. More than 80% of subscribers play the games, with having 100 million consoles and only 10% of your games. I think he's making the reference to. I mean, listen. One of the things that it's a bit of a conundrum and frustrating for me as a Sony fan, because I am a Sony fan too. I really do wish that more people would play their first party games. I mean, I know that there are many people that do, but it almost seems like it gets lost on the masses, and I don't know if that's because their player base is, so widely the normies. Like the normies will play a Spider-Man because, well, Spider-Man is, he's in the MCU. Tom Holland is a good-looking kid. Far From Home, it was a great film. So Spider-Man, whenever the next one comes out, potentially, I think they said holiday 23, I think it is. So not this year, next year, is going to be a big game, and it's probably going to sell millions of copies. Hopefully at that point, though, it'll be in some sort of a pass thing for Sony. I don't know what they're going to do, but it would be great. But yeah, I agree with that 100%, Danny. Thanks so much for the generosity. But let's get into topic number 3. Joe, I got to go to you first on this, brother, because we're talking Star Wars. And man, I mean, what can you say? First of all, Respawn, they did some things with just Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order that game just sold millions and millions of copies. It made every Star Wars fan play it, enjoy it, love it, talk about it well after they beat it. And what I loved about the development of that game is it was very, it had some your favorite genre, that very difficult game that I can't get into. Known as Bloodborne. Well, it had some elements in regards to the fighting, but what they did is they didn't just throw you out there and say, hey, Star Wars fans, suck it if you can't really beat Bloodborne. They allowed you to just make it a story-based game, and there was some challenge, but it wasn't like a Bloodborne game. Well, that same team, and this is not a big surprise, is releasing the sequel to Jedi Fallen Order. I believe it is going to be next year, if I'm not mistaken, Joe. But they announced on Tuesday that they officially announced it. Like, we all kind of knew that Jedi Fallen Order 2 was coming. We don't have the sub name to it of what story we're going to be following. But it wasn't just that, Joe. They announced 2 other games, one of which is going to be a first-person shooter, and the other one is going to be a strategy game brought to us by some of the folks that made XCOM. And they're all being published and developed by EA, but developed by Respawn Entertainment. Joe, this is big news coming on the heels of that incredible Boba Fett series that's out, because I'm quite enjoying it. But the episode that we just talked about in the green room, known as Mandalorian 2.5, we need to see more, and it's coming in episode 6. What are your thoughts on these 3 games, bro?
So good. Let's just first talk about that episode. So good. The Filoni verse actually might be the best Star Wars ever.
Dave Filoni and God,
I'm blanking on his name too. And he's
Iron Man's bodyguard.
Right.
What is his name?
John Favreau.
John Favreau.
There you
Jesus
go.
Christmas. I can't believe I forgot that.
Dude, honestly, they break it down. They break down Star Wars to like the purest of form. Right? So like it's so good. Anyway. Yeah, they made dreams happen this week. And when it comes to this news, I want to get a little fanboyish here because I got like a theory, a crazy one that would make this generation seem way crazier. So first, let's talk about the 3 games. The Jedi Fallen Order 2 game. Jedi Fallen Order is a huge hit, not just like monetarily, but with fans. With fans of
He's
Star
gonna show
Wars.
up in Star Wars, bro.
Oh, yeah, Sue. Yeah. with fans of Star Wars absolutely loving Cal.
Cal is an amazing. First of all, the actor that played him,
great,
is phenomenal.
Yeah, he's a great actor, and the fan base absolutely loved that game so much that like if you're part of me that are in saber groups because your life isn't sad, shut up, like they're building sabers of him, like 1-to-1 replicas, and those are some of the most expensive ones to get. Nonetheless, what I feel about that game is I'm excited for it. Whatever comes out, it comes out. I'm going to play it, beat it,
I think we get it holiday next year. Holiday next year is going to be bonkers, bro.
That's when they get into those brand new retractable ones. You have to want those realistic ones.
Oh, God is good. God is great. They'll put it this holiday just for me. They'll announce it in May and it'll come out in November. And Joe will be excited because what's the EA game this holiday, right?
Right.
Makes you think. It makes you think. So yeah, that game, awesome. I'm down for it. The two other games, the first person shooter, kind of has me thinking that, you know, someone in the trophy room Discord asked, like, what if it's like Apex Legends-esque where you're throwing in heroes in? And I'm like, let's take that. Let's take that for a sec. Mm-hmm. What if this is the Mandalorian game? Because they want to make a stylistic shooter.
Dark Forces reboot.
I mean, Dark Forces would also be great. Don't get me wrong here. But how awesome would it be to take the mechanics from Titanfall that people really love and put it in a Star Wars game where you do have some wall running, you do have, you know, jetpacks going off, and you do have your blasters shooting back and forth. And what if you're just an arena? You're a bounty hunter arena, right? And you're just fighting other bounty hunters. That
would be kind of dope, dude.
That would be dope. And that would have that like close-knit, like, you know, again, remember, these are the originators of Call of Duty with Medal of Honor. So you could have that arena-based shooter that you want there with a talented team. And then the third one, the XCOM devs. Oh my God, you could theoretically
You
could theoretically make a Republic Commando that is an XCOM game.
Oh my God.
That would, it actually suits that game really well. Though I would think the first person shooter, maybe make that a Republic Commando too, just for Joe. But yeah, XCOM makes sense, or even like an Age of Empires styled game where you're just amassing armies and tossing them at them. You have so many planets that could just be your map. You can have, you know, Republic forces fighting First Order forces. Like, you can have a lot of fun with that IP. Here's my last bit of rant. All right. PlayStation's losing Call of Duty, right? We all know this. We know it. We may not want to come to terms with it. It's happening. What if Sony just kind of knocks on Disney's door, going, okay, guys. So listen, you've tried Battlefront because Battlefront's canceled. It's done.
Yeah, it's done.
Right. Unfortunately, there's no faith in DICE at this point. Unfortunately. What if PlayStation just walks up, knocks on the door going, hey, we'd like to take a crack at Battlefront, but we're not rebooting DICE's Battlefront. We're rebooting, and this is the devs' name, the Pandemic devs.
Yes.
Right? What if we get some of the old devs here in our studios? We make, I
played those games for hundreds of hours,
disgusting hours. And what if we reboot Zipper, or what if you give it to Guerrilla's second studio, right? And you're just like, here's Battlefront 2, PlayStation exclusive shooter, bam. That'd be pretty nuts. That would be like a pie in the sky thing. That would get me really excited, because as much as I ended up liking Battlefront 2 at the end, I do have that game platted. You know, it's just, there's something about Battlefront 2 on PS2 in the original Xbox that they haven't been able to capture. Yes. And if there's a studio that could do it, man, I really want it. You could do it. You really can. So that's how I want Battlefront to live any way possible. I think that'd be pretty rad. I think that would shake some shit up because there could be some people in this chat going, "Oh man, that would that would make me buy a PlayStation, right?" Like that'd be pretty wild. I don't know, man. Star Wars is the limit. Star Wars is love. Star Wars is life. And I'm honestly that is my ultimate like. That's my ultimate fandom.
If the world aligns correctly, that's what Joe wants. But Joe, before I let you get out of here, brother, because you're not leaving, but you're obviously going to let the other panel members talk. Sin Vendetta drops a good friend of yours drops a $5 super chat, and he asks two specific questions that I know you're going to that you're going to deliver the answer on. Okay. Joe, how many days since Bloodborne released?
Ooh, okay, all right. And what's the second question?
Second question is how many days until Elden Ring releases?
Oh, snap. Okay. Elden Ring, I believe, is...
That's the 21st?
24th? Or 25th, one of those.
Is it 27 days? Or I think it's 27.
It would be 27 days. That is correct.
Okay. And if I'm not mistaken, Bloodborne came out 2015. So it's been 2,502 days.
There you go. He delivered. Thank you very much, brother. You don't disappoint, brother. You don't disappoint.
Did I have to Google that? Yes.
That was a quick Google search.
That was a quick Google.
Dude, honestly,
you're a Googler.
Here's the thing. Here's how much I do that bit. When I type how, that is the first thing that comes up.
I love it. That's great. That's great. A peek behind the curtain. Well, Kay Asante, good friend of the show and incredible host of the Gaming Circle podcast, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Saturday mornings, drops a $5 super chat. Says, morning to my breakfast with Boom friends. As happy as I am with the Star Wars news, sadly, this just puts another nail in the potential Titanfall 3 coffin. And this is what Boom does when I read that. Devastated. Because no one is a bigger Titanfall fan than me. And I don't know what they're doing over there and when we're going to get it. But my God, please stop taking on these things and let me live. Can I live? Can you let me live? But we'll see. Big Cloud, let's get your opinion on this. Listen, like I said, it's no surprise to any of us that Jedi Fallen Order 2 is coming out. We know it's coming out next year.
We're just counting the seconds.
yeah. We're literally. I mean, Cal is an incredible character. The game sold incredibly well.
Not just that though. Even the situation, like remember the big. I know your jaw dropped. I know Joe's jaw dropped when he heard Anakin's theme. You know, you heard was the clink, and you heard the first time, and it's like,
yeah, man.
Vader comes out the smoke, and it's like, oh no, and it gets.
I was in disbelief.
Yeah, I was going to be in the game.
No, because I'm like, oh my God! I literally, I was playing the last level. I was like, wow, they didn't need him in this story.
They did
make a really great. And then like I was in disbelief. I was like, no. And then like when like that. Oh my God! Play Fallen Order, man.
It goes from 0 to 60 in a record time when that happens. Because as soon as you know what I love about that part, and I don't know, Boom caught on to it, but the visual, her face when she just stops and she's like in terror,
complete terror.
Yes, you hear his footsteps, and you just go, hey, you hear what's name go? That's him. He's like, that's not good, is it? No, it's not good. He jumps down. It's like, oh no,
God,
such a good game, man. It's
so great.
I can't wait to see what they do with that. The different lightsaber. That's another thing I loved about it too. They didn't really penalize you or made you feel like you couldn't really explore the lightsaber combat in that. Like you had the dual wield, you had the regular. It's just good. Like it's one of the best games in my honest opinion. And still, I believe that game got robbed.
Yeah,
a game of the year. Like that game seriously deserves a game of the year. At least a nomination, at least once. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those games where I think personally, if it had the opportunity to really just like, you know, be on that stage and people see it, I think it would have won and swiped the board in a lot of areas.
I think if that game just came out like a week before
earlier. Yeah.
Well,
not even that though, because the year following it still didn't get clarified or it didn't get nominated. So that's the thing too.
It's rigged.
I agree with you.
It's a rigged system.
Oh, definitely rigged that point. But nah, one of the best games of all time. I can't wait to see what they do for part 2. I really cannot. I mean, are we going to see Darth Maul? Can we see
Holy crap!
Can we see a Darth
dude.
Maul? Can we see a? I don't know, man. You know, can we see? There's a lot of stuff, man. It's a lot of stuff. I just say that it's a lot of stuff.
Well, I'll say this: the fact that we have a third-person, over-the-shoulder, story-driven game coming back in a sequel. We also have word that we're getting a strategy game. We also have word that we're getting a first-person shooter of sorts. They are really throwing down the gambit, so to speak, or the gauntlet, I should say, and running the gambit, because we are getting a genre for each. We're getting a Star Wars game that has a genre in it that, again, maybe the third person game isn't for you, but maybe the strategy game is. Maybe the strategy game isn't for you, but the first person shooter is. The fact that it's all coming from Respawn tells me that EA understands that what they have with that development house is special. And it's so special that they are not giving them just one Star Wars game. They're giving them 3. Crispy, let's get your opinion on this, brother. What are your thoughts on the 3 announced titles coming from the makers of Titanfall?
Give me Jedi Fallen Order 2, whatever you call it. That's all I really care about.
Whatever you call it. How dare you?
Whatever they're going to call it. I don't know if they're going to call it Fallen Order.
That's
2.
the name. It's Fallen Order 2. That's what we call it.
All right. So
Sour World.
definitely love that game. The XCOM thing, I mean, it's not my jam. I don't know if they go like Halo Wars strategy or they go like full on XCOM, which is kind of like Gears Tactics.
Yes.
That either way, I mean, I know there's going to be a huge fan base. My thing is they're smart enough to finally say, okay, Respawn, we see you now. You know what I'm saying? Like, finally, they're like, yeah, you could have all the Star Wars. Here you go. And, you know, I think, you know, to your point with like the TV shows doing really well, like getting into like the nooks and crannies of the universe, you know, personally, I think they're kind of bringing Star Wars back, you know, between, you know, bringing out some really good games. And now these shows are really like hitting home for the huge fans. I'm not the hugest fan. I've watched every movie, but, you know, I don't really haven't really gotten to the nooks and crannies until recently with these little side stories, as I like to call them, that also feel as big as the main story, which is just really cool. So I'm looking forward to it. I mean, of course, I'm looking for Jedi Fallen Order 2, and that's all I'm really looking forward to. But let's see what the first-person shooter is. If it's what Joe's saying, that could be interesting. You know what I mean? That could be something that, you know, you really haven't gone there yet. But, hey, I mean, Titanfall maybe becomes a Star Wars type game. Like, it would be interesting to have, you know, all those, you know, unique styles that Titanfall really has, but could really work in that universe. It'd be interesting.
Yeah, it really would. And the fact that Joe even brought it up, because I never even thought about that it could be some sort of a hero type shooter would be, again, is it a game I'm going to probably play? I don't know, because I don't play Apex Legends. I'm just that's just not for me. I played it before, but it's just not for me.
Honestly, when you said Dark Forces, like, dude,
Yeah,
like,
man.
modern day Doom in Star Wars, let's go. Let's go.
I said that, and people, half the chat was like, "What is he talking about? Dark Forces?"
Dude,
that
Dark
is an
Forces,
old school for
old
FPS
school
game.
That is Star Wars, like Doom. Like, think of what, like, classic 90s Doom. This is a Doom clone of that era, and it slapped so hard. If they put that on consoles,
oh my god,
I would love it. 90s Star Wars games are the best. Like, like, give me Shadows of the Empire. I don't know why that hasn't been remastered or remade.
Oh, freaking good, dude.
Give me Dash Rendar.
Yes. Yeah, you know what's funny? Gamer by Choice drops a very generous $2 super chat, Joe, and he says they need to bring back Star Killer. He was awesome. And you're talking about Force Unleashed. I would pay top.
He's too IP, and the voice actor is Darth Maul now. So, and also the Emperor and certain things. Also, from what I understand, George Lucas hated Star Killer.
Really?
Yeah. Because he broke like a lot of he
broke a lot of his rules.
Yeah.
So like he wouldn't let Star, like, You don't say that name around him.
So you're saying if I say Star Killer and I'm standing next to George Lucas, I can expect a camel clutch?
Yeah, no, George Lucas would be like, "Oh, someone escort this man out here."
I love it. That's great. Fuzzy, let's get your opinion on this, brother. Are you excited for the next 3 Star Wars games from Respawn Entertainment? Some of the best games that we've seen come out of EA. Well, they're responsible for it in Apex Legends and obviously Jedi Fallen Order. And now we're getting 3 Star Wars games. Where do you fall on this?
Well, one, excited about Fallen Order 2. Enjoyed the first, enjoyed Fallen Order a lot. And I was really wondering when the 2 would come out. And hopefully, fingers crossed that it aligns and comes out this holiday. But it just goes to show, I guess, Vincent Pella got them to listen to him, and I don't think they've made a wrong move since. So it seems like they just the old EA. I won't say it's completely gone, but it definitely seems like they're taking a much better turn for the best, I guess you could say. Just in the sense that they now have better opportunities with these Star Wars licenses compared to when they weren't really putting out that many Star Wars games and kind of just quickly rushing them out and then having to go back and bringing them back to life. Like with Battlefront and Battlefront 2, the initial release wasn't so bad, but then they muddled it with just either lack of content or the loot box stuff, and then they kind of turned it around and fixed it and added mechanics to it that definitely paid off in the long run. But it's one of those things that should have been like that from launch. But having these new ones like Squadrons was like that, kind of like that experiment that I don't know if it hit as well as they had hoped, but it was definitely a pleasant surprise that they release that game and at a lower than full retail price type of deal, cater to the fans as far as some of the content that they added later. But doing an XCOM version and a first person shooter version, I think this new EA or at least Respawn themselves going with it or having at it how they see fit, I think is a definite positive for the future Star Wars titles that they're going to release. Drawback being Titanfall 3, but
honestly, Fuzzy,
yeah,
you hit a good chord here. EA has realized maybe a little later or maybe sooner than others that they need to diversify their portfolio.
Yeah.
That big publishers like the reason why Activision is sold off is that they put all their cards into the Call of Duty basket, and once production got hurt by the Rona, they couldn't keep it up. Yeah. And so with EA, they're just like, we can't put our eggs in the Battlefield basket for sure. We need to diversify this portfolio. And that's why you see them making like the Dead Space remake, why you see them making the new Skate, why you see them doing all these Star Wars things is they know if they want to survive another 10 years here, they need a lot of content.
Good point.
Yeah.
Good
point. That's a strong point. Anything else you'd like to add there, Fuzzy?
No, that's it. I'm just excited for Fallen Order 2 and what they have in store for us. So I just can't wait.
Yeah, real quick, Lieutenant Hulk in the chat drops a very generous $2 super chat and says Jedi Fallen Order 2 should have co-op. That would be pretty interesting if it did, for sure. But I'm going to be honest with you. I'm happy with it just being a single-player game, just like normal, because that single-player game really hit. And, man, I cannot wait to see what they do with the sequel. VJ, let's close out this topic before we get into the last one of the day. Where do your opinions levy with the announcement that the trust, respect, and having a game like Jedi Fallen Order hit so good that EA has now given the reins over to the Star Wars reins over to Respawn to release not one, not two, but 3 different games.
Yeah. I've got to say that Cal from Jedi Fallen Order, whenever I see him, he just seems to resemble Hugh Laurie, right? From, Hugh Laurie's Dr. House's love child or some sort. I don't know. Anyway, I'm probably going to get beaten up now. But anyway, I think, God, EA. They are strong when it comes to sort of commercially exploiting and marketing license-based content. They've been experts at it since the early 90s, and the license, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that the Star Wars license is now open, right?
Yes, they're not the only ones making games.
So EA are doubling or tripling down. I don't know how many Star Wars franchises they've got, because as you know, I'm not an ardent or mainstay admirer of Star Wars or its universe per se, but maybe the odd one out. But hopefully, I'll give you a different perspective. But and EA are doubling down, and tells you that there is an element of truth to what I'm saying in terms of their commercial prowess and what they believe are their strengths. But they have the resources and the funds to be such a great company, as they were on the cusp of being so back in 2000 when they issued a share split, and then the share price just went back up to whatever it was in the first place. And the problem was the success that they were seeing, right, and the dominance that they had over the industry. They would dominate nearly every quarter. Even Sony, they would dominate in terms of sales. And you talk about MPD, they were always in there, right? So. And the success that they were ultimately seeing, right, consumed them enough to sort of start stumbling, right, as other publishers grew, and became substantial and competitive, especially in terms of the quality of the content that they produce. And look, I don't want to go on about that, but if I've understood the situation correctly, as you say, Boom, all 3 Star Wars games are under the purview, guidance, and direction of Respawn, and for all intents and purposes, Respawn have now, as you say, executive ownership over the IP, the studios, internal or external, whatever the case may be, and the titles that are subsequently being produced, right, across 2 or 3 different genres. And you have to say that post Infinity Ward, I think Mr. Zampella was out. I forget his first name. Is it Vince?
Yeah, Vince Zampella.
You have to tip your hat, right, in terms of what he's managed to achieve for EA, right? And I don't think that can be understated, really. And how he or others, that deserve a feather in the cap, have seemingly climbed the ranks and seem to, this time around, after the success of Jedi Fallen Order, no doubt, have a much more heeded voice within the company. And as for the 3 purported games, Jedi Fallen Order 2 is probably a safe bet. I think the panel will kind of agree on that. And you'd have to say that typically, right, that game was not just because it was a great game, not just because it was sold a great number of units, reportedly so, but it is even a greater achievement when you consider the time constraints under which the first game was developed and released, coupled with coming to grips with a new engine and a new team for Stig. It was a pretty strong outcome, right? Even though EA are never even happy with when a game sells 5 million units, they're not particularly pleased. So, and I can't, in terms of the other 2 games, I can't speak to the potentiality of the proposed FPS and strategy titles. I think you mentioned, Boom. It's just a wait and see, since EA and historics or so, they pin down and pen or hem in studios with a considerable amount of producers that are programmed to sort of apply pressure and get fixated on pointless and distracting detail. And they're not always part of the solution, I should say. Sort of managing upwards and sideways and not downwards. Or if they do it downwards, they don't do it in a way that benefits everybody, right? They're not great at bridging understanding between up and down the chain. So it's all going to be down to the degree of the carte blanche, leeway, authority, and freedom that's sort of afforded to Mr. Zampella and his team. And he's definitely shown himself to be an excellent conductor. And this time around, he's going to be in charge of 3 titles that we know of right now.
Yeah.
Terms of that he's going to orchestrate, and they'll either be really great symphonies or incoherent cacophonies or something like that. I can't always pronounce that word, but I guess I'm listening to the panel. We're all hoping it's the former. And then you've got a couple of the games that I've got my sort of my eye roaming is Knights of the Old Republic and Star Wars Eclipse. Both seen really intriguing titles. I never played the old Knights of the Old Republic, so I'm looking forward to that. I always hear Slow-Mo Backslap, speak very highly.
That is a classic among classics, boy. Let me tell you, I've beaten that game a half a dozen times.
So if you're a Star Wars fan, I guess you've got plenty to look forward to. So enjoy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And let's let me just close out because we have 20 minutes left of the program, and we got to talk about news that comes to us the way of friend of this show, friend of this community, and the best freaking hair in the business, Jeff Grubby Grub. He was on Giant Bomb this yesterday, of course, and he broke some really big news concerning Certain Affinity. Now, if you don't know who they are, they have made some of the most classic Halo IP maps in the business. They've worked closely with Microsoft for years. And what's interesting is, like I talked about in the opening, is they are apparently not only working on and with 343 Industries on a new mode for Halo Infinite, but according to Jeffrey Grubb, and I quote, he says this: they're working with Certain Affinity on what seems like a Monster Hunter style game, or he called it a Monster Hunter clone. They see this gameplay style succeeding, and Microsoft's like, hey, we should try to make one of those. Is anyone out there going to pitch one? And he finished his point by saying they want more variety in the kinds of games they're putting on Xbox Game Pass, and this is another example of that. Joe, we're going to go to you first, brother. Look, I'm not a big fan of calling something out as, hey, it's just a Monster Hunter clone. But that's what we can describe it as right now. I don't necessarily know if they're trying to go for that, but the ideology that they want a different, a certain genres hitting Xbox Game Pass that are not just shooters, not just racers, not just over the shoulder shooters. They want a variety, so when people come to Xbox Game Pass, it's a smorgasbord of titles. I mean, I think it's there now, but a Monster Hunter level game that allows for multiplayer, a story to be told, and of course, the most important thing in gaming for some people, loot, sounds like a winning combination, especially when you say that a Certain Affinity is the one behind this development. What are your thoughts on this breaking news from Jeff Grubb?
I'm excited. I'm excited, man. I think that, I think a lot of people are getting into the genre because they see Monster Hunter do so well.
Yes.
Like Monster Hunter is
it hits every time. It hits every time.
It's a huge success, and with World and Iceborne being as popular as they are now, Arise as well, I think it's called, hitting PC. I think it's about that portfolio that they want to expand, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see more people enter this kind of Monster Hunter space. One that makes total sense to do, honestly, would be a Horizon multiplayer game, right?
I don't know if Horizon will work though. That's the thing.
It depends. It definitely depends, right? So like,
I guess.
Yo, you can have like kind of like in the similar veins of like Ghost of Tsushima's classes of how they split up.
Oh wow,
so more like raids type of thing. Like you do like those. Type of
something like that.
Okay.
So like I could see like PlayStation, dipping their toes into it. I see Microsoft dipping their toes into it, and honestly, I kind of want this, man, because to me, I'm as I'm getting older. Listen, I'm good at the competitives. All right, I could take you on at Halo. That's no problem. But I'm yearning for more of the cooperative experiences with my friends, where we could just chill out, shoot the shot and just play rather than having to focus and own some noobs. So that's what I would like to see. I'm very curious. Is this straight up I'm fighting big giant monsters, or am I fighting big giant mechs? Like,
is
what
there
the
a
angle
story
is
involved?
There's
a
is it kind of like Dauntless? That's where my brain goes. But yeah, this excites me. You know, hopefully maybe we see it this year at whatever they call their E3. And yeah, I'll be there, man. I'm excited. This is cool.
Well, you know what, BitCloud, let's get your opinion on this. It was confirmed that they have in fact been working on this since early 2021, so they could be a year in development. Now, obviously, it's going to be. They said it's according to Jeff, it is the biggest game that they have ever undertaken. So I would imagine that this is not going to be ready for prime time for quite a bit. But with that said, it is still a new IP. It is still an exclusive, and it will be one of those games that if it hits right in Game Pass would do. I mean, again, getting more people to the service is what Microsoft wants to do, and the way they do that is offering a significant amount of games to play. What are your thoughts on this announcement from Jeff?
You know, personally, again, I'm all for just waiting to see it at this point because there's so much happening. But I do believe there's truth to what he's saying, and it's a big possibility of us seeing it.
Yeah, I mean, a certain Affinity is a very, very talented dev, and one I think that could bring this game justice. And again, it's if it turns out to be a Monster Hunter-esque type of title, that means that this is going to be you teaming up with your buddies to take down these giant beasts wherever it may be. Now, again, we're saying dinosaurs. I mean, because we think immediately, you know, you equate that with Monster Hunter. That's what they fight, like big dinosaurs. It could be just monsters per se, but we again, this is a very early story, but great stuff. Let's get Crispy in on the conversation. Crispy, you are our resident multiplayer dude, right? You love playing multiplayer. It's your thing because of obviously your love for Gears. This could be another one of those titles. Not only do you only find on Xbox, but could be a reason for you to potentially, if you are a Monster Hunter fan and wanted to try something new and different that's not Capcom, you jump into Xbox Game Pass to play it. What are your thoughts?
Hey, I know a lot of people that love Monster Hunter, so me personally never really got into it, but at the same time, that's just not my game, but there's so many people that just love it. You know, my best friend, he's played the heck out of it. Anytime there's like any like new DLC or update, or, you know, basically they like reinvent the game, like they've done it many times, like he's right back in. So, you know, sometimes Xbox just like, you know what, we need a game like this. Let's just make it happen. And you know, to have, you know, such a talented support dev that they finally might have something to show off. You never know. I mean, down the road, Microsoft will be like, okay, you did great. We'll purchase you now. One thing I want to bring up is that it's impressive how great Game Pass is for gaming. I mean, you can tell me it's not, and that's fine. But if you look at the games that have come out, and many of them may not have ever been thought of if it wasn't for Game Pass, and now to see them really like branching out more and more, even just our last story, like looking at them going after strategic and first person and trying to really, you know, have a portfolio of different games. It really, like, Xbox has been doing this for a while now. And now you're seeing the fruits of the labor, and now you're going to see games that are developed by companies that haven't done a lot, you know, or just been a support dev. And now they really have get to have their shot, and that's kind of thanks to Game Pass, which is just great.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think that is, I think the risk that it was inherent in just trying to sell games in the past has been removed with Xbox Game Pass, and that's actually something that Phil Spencer himself has specifically talked about. Fuzzy, let's get your opinion on this, brother. A Monster Hunter game exclusive coming to Xbox Game Pass and Microsoft, and obviously PC. What are your thoughts on this story broke by Jeff Grubb of GamesBeat?
Definitely interesting. Like, for me, by the time I got into Monster Hunter, it was well after a lot of people had already leveled up and kind of moved on. But one of the things I always admire about Monster Hunter is the things that, I guess, Massive over at Ubisoft picked up from Monster Hunter and implemented into the Division, or at least the first one, at their for their 1.4 update where they had mods for gear. So if this winds up being a cooperative game where gear is involved and there are going to be loot drops, I'm all for it. Seeing more games like that out there, coming to Game Pass, or just games being created in that genre in general, I'm definitely looking forward to. So this one has my interest peaked. Curious to see if it is monsters per se or mechs. I mean, hey, anything that we can work towards as far as as a group and whittle down and get some drops at the end of it is all all I'm looking forward to. So yeah, I would be all for it. Can't wait to hear more info on it.
Yeah, that makes two of us, and I do like the point. I don't think it's going to be a clone per se where they're just fighting dinosaurs. I'd like to see them maybe fight mechs. I'd like to see them maybe try and take down creatures of sorts, not so much just like the dinosaurs that you do find. I mean, there are monsters in Monster Hunter. They are called Monster Hunter, but I would like to see them do something a little different, and I think it's going to be good for the platform. Yeah. Let's get VJ's final point of the show, and then we will get to outros and get everyone out of here to start your Friday before this big snowstorm bombs us all here on the East Coast. VJ, from a perspective of, you've talked about Game Pass on the Xbox Factor podcast numerous times. You've even mentioned it today. This is a game that does have a following in Capcom's very popular series known as Monster Hunter. And, Certain Affinity is a studio that has a significant amount of talent. The fact that they're undertaking this as an exclusive to Xbox is a big deal. What are your thoughts?
I'm sorry to disappoint you, Boom. I did have a 3.5 hour take on this, but I'm going to have to keep it down to a few minutes. Monster Hunter. I think in terms of like co-op gaming, I've really, this is recently, I never enjoyed co-op gaming before, but I've really enjoyed playing It Takes Two with the Indie Gamer. And I also played Monster Hunter with Removable Sanity, who, if you don't know, he's a well-versed professor, if not like a master of Monster Hunter. And he sort of spent a couple of hours with me so I could get to grips with the forms and function of the game. And look, my takeaway from a sort of unsubstantiated rumor, if that's what it is, sorry if I've got it wrong, more co-op titles and variety of options for Game Pass is great, right? If it comes to fruition. I mean, what's not to love? So, and I repeat again, Game Pass is geared to be greater than the sum of its parts, and offering diversity to a potentially huge audience in the next 5 to 10 years, I think is what Microsoft are doing. And we've talked about this on the show before in terms of what they need to do strategically. And it's good to see that they are potentially thinking in that way, right? And in terms of creating something and not just acquiring, right? We want a balance. And look, talking of to create something like Monster Hunter is really tough going. It's a unique game, and trying to mimic sort of Capcom's masterpiece. Well, let's just put it this way: it's going to be challenging, right? To put it politely. Capcom have been sort of honing that concept for more than 20 years, I believe. So
yes, it's a very old franchise for them.
So what I would say, Boom, is that if you really want a Monster Hunter game in Game Pass, just place Capcom's Monster Hunter titles in Game Pass, right? But having said that, I mean, I was just surprised at the phenomenal sales of Monster Hunter titles, right? And that's obviously something that sort of helping Microsoft to hone in and target on such a sort of style of game, right? Just because of the sheer numbers that it did in, I think it was 16 or 17 million units at the last count in terms of sales on the last Xbox and PS4 and PC versions.
Yeah,
but it's not an easy game to sort of get to grips with. So I can see a market, potentially a huge market, for a slightly more simplified or stripped down, or just something that's a more accessible version of Monster Hunter going down a storm amongst sort of current gamers that are starved of that sort of game, and of course, new light users and fans that subscribe to Game Pass, etc. And look, I actually want to try Monster Hunter on the Nintendo Switch and see how that works, compared to the Xbox version, like the handheld versus the TV version. So, look, again, I'm assuming this is sort of some sort of like quintessential or a non-plus rumor, right? Since there's just no way of qualifying it or giving it credence on any sort of factual level. but as hypotheticals goes, it's sure got some legs.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely agree. Well, listen, let's get everyone out of here. We are closing in on the 2-hour mark. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been an amazing show. Guys, we had almost 500 people here today. That is freaking pretty dope. I want to say that if you are just finding the channel, please consider subscribing. We crossed 10K last Sunday, and it was a big deal for the channel. You know what? Next goal, 25K. I want the plaque. I want that big shiny plaque to put right here by my energy sword. And the only way I can get that is if you subscribe. And I would definitely appreciate it. So let's start first, Joe. Mr. Bad Bitch.
Yeah, man.
Return. Tell everyone about the incredible trophy room with your best friend Kyle. Yeah. And of course, where could people find it on the RSS feeds and potentially strike up a conversation on social media?
Yeah, first and foremost, man, January is supposed to be, like, typically is the slowest month. And not so much here at the trophy room. It's been pretty nuts. So first and foremost, thank you all so much for all the love and support. I know so many of you here listen to the show on YouTube. So thank you all so much for doing that. The past few weeks, we've talked about the acquisition of Activision and what that means for PlayStation. And we've gotten a lot of love from some Xbox fans saying, thank you for not just bashing Xbox or doing this, that, and the other thing, and being a thoughtful / positive voice on the matter. And so thank you all so much for that. But you can find the Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast, over on our YouTube channel of the same name. You can find the Trophy Room on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, which right now you should head on over to @PS Trophy Room on Twitter, because we're doing a Horizon Forbidden West giveaway. If you follow us, you like us there, you drop us a 5-star review over on Apple Podcasts, you are entered to win the deluxe version of Horizon Forbidden West. So go on over there @PS Trophy Room. It's the latest tweet. Go check that out. And as for the month of February, the Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast, will be reviewing every single major release. I just put out that I'm playing currently Dying Light 2 and got a lot of thoughts. Oh my God, so many, but I can't say them out loud until February 2nd. So make sure you follow us for all the latest, the breaking news, and now reviews over on the podcast.
Excellent. BitCloud Gaming, brother. Talk about what you got going on with your channel, what you got going on with IGN, and more importantly, where can people strike up a conversation on social media?
Oh, yeah. Today, 5 p.m., RGT, we are back. Joe, got to talk to you at the end of the show, but we're back for the show, and we got our new official members. We got our good friend Paul Hunter, aka Next Gen from Twitter, so he's officially a new member, and our friend Red Hood, so we're happy about that. The family got bigger, so to speak, and a lot of stuff is about to go down, so it's really exciting. But you guys find me there, BitCloud Gaming, of course, IGN. I'm a freelancer there, so shout out to IGN, and of course, you can always find me here at Breakfast with Boom. Appreciate everybody for coming through, and everybody who supports my good friend Mr. BoomStick XL.
I definitely appreciate that, brother. And Crispy Bomb, talk about where could people reach out to you, strike up a conversation, and where could they possibly find you on other shows?
Joe, I'm a little jealous. Dying Light 2, you bastard.
Oh, me? Oh, yeah, I know. Sorry.
At Chrissy Bomb on Twitter, Chrissy Bomb 28 Xbox Live. You can find me on Retro Renegade 7 p.m. Tuesday night. The next podcast Thursday 8 p.m. and of course back here on Breakfast with Boom Friday at 10 a.m.
Thank you, brother. Great to have you here. Fuzzy Belvedere, you're on quite a few shows. One that's coming up Saturday afternoon, early evening here in the East Coast. Talk about that. Where could people reach out to you and strike up a conversation? But more importantly, tell everyone about your YouTube channel.
Thank you so much, Boom. Thank you for having me. Thank you to the chat and everyone that interacted with us today. This was just awesome. for those that want to hear my thoughts on gaming in general, whether it be on YouTube or on social media, you can find me on Twitter at @fuzzy_Belvedere, as well as on YouTube @fuzzy_Belvedere. You can also find me on FSP Fun Speculations channel for the 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time podcast with Mav and Just Key, going over various platforms of games. And then later that evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, you can find me on the Shop Podcast with PTK Blam, Pong Soul, and Centurion 1307. And then on Mondays, also with Mav on Tidbits, just the weekly game releases, any gems that you may have missed or kind of flew under the radar. And find me again here on Friday mornings, Breakfast with Boom. It's all so much fun to be here with you guys. Thank you.
It's great to have you, brother. VJ, tell everyone about where they could find you on other programs, if you are still doing other programs. And more importantly, if people want to strike up a conversation, where could they find you on Twitter?
Just a lovely panel today, providing me food for thought. I felt like I was copying everybody's homework. I was so behind the 8 ball. I just want to say thanks to Outbreak in the Outbreak podcast in the chat for the support, for his kind words and support. You can find me on Midweek Gaming on Wednesdays with Stubbs Gaming and the rest of the British panel over there, and Cerebral Paul. And finally, Boom, thanks as always for having me on the show. It's really appreciated.
Well, it's great to have you. And popping in at the last minute, Dreadpool. Hey, listen, brother, I know you had a tough week at work. I know you wanted to be here, but you couldn't. But listen, while you're here, why don't you tell everyone about your channel? Why don't you talk about where can people reach out to you on social media and checking out Breaking Bread with Dread?
First of all, thanks for everybody in the chat for being civil while I was trying to get here. Good morning, everyone. Have a good weekend. I didn't earn any of my my outro, so you all have a good one. I had so much to talk about with Star Wars, but I gotta say, Joe, you kind of were on the money with some of the stuff that I was thinking of. But it is what it is. I missed it, so you all have a good day. I just want to at least stop in. I know Star Wars, man. It was like my thing, and it just didn't make it.
So good.
All right. Well, we'll definitely. I mean, we can always. I mean, I'm sure that we're gonna have other stuff to talk about regarding Star Wars, and you can definitely let loose on that. But listen, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, if you're new, hit the like button. Consider subscribing to the channel, and of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's important to me. Hopefully, one day it'll be important to you, and that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. I think it made me a better human being, to be honest with you. It made me certainly a better police officer. He said, "Son, treat others how you want to be treated, and also it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, and I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day." So take care, everyone, and we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Breakfast with Boom.